Hello Year 6, this is your vocabulary lesson for February the 24th, which is next Wednesday, and we're going to be looking at a poem, The Tyger by William Blake. So before we start, I want you to get a piece of paper and a pencil, and I would like you to write down two words. The first is thy, and the second is thine. So write those down for me. Pause the video if you need to go and search for a piece of paper and a pencil. Right, do you know what those two words mean? If you're not sure, thy means your and thine means yours. So it might be something like, can I take thy hand? Which would have happened, it's obviously much older English. Or thine eyes are beautiful. And you might say that to somebody. Or an animal, or if you look at a cat. And talking of cats, we're going to think about tigers. So before we start, I'm going to read this poem to you, and then we're going to do a bit of unpicking. Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burn the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer? What the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil? What dread gasp dare its deadly tremors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Lots and lots of words in that poem for us to question. Lots of questions. It's probably got the most questions of any poem you're likely to read. Just have a look through. So you might need to stop the video and just go back and see if you can count how many questions there are. Pause the video here. So have you counted the questions? I've counted the questions, and I counted 12, which I don't think I've ever read a poem with that many questions in it. I'd like you to look at it again and see if you can unravel what some of the words mean. There are quite a few that you might not know. Here is a selection of them which we will go through. So we've got clasp, frame, furnace, fear, sinews, thy, thine, dread, terror, immortal. So have a look and decide which of those words you know and can explain. If you can write an explanation, this would be a really good moment to do it. If you're not sure, we're going to go through their meanings in a minute, but have a go and see how many you can do. I think you should be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7. Have a go. Pause the video here. Okay, so hopefully you've now looked at all the words and worked out which ones you know. I left out one, which was aspire, but I think you all know what that means. Look at how the author has used some of the phrases. Dread hand, fearful symmetry, deadly terrors. How would you use some of those phrases? Pause the video here and have a think. So for the words that you weren't sure about, we've got clasp, to grasp onto something very tightly with your hand. Frame, to plan and make, to place in a picture. Sinews, tough fibres that join muscles to bones. Furnace, a fire that is used to heat materials to a very high temperature. Thy, old word for you, and thine, old word for yours. immortal, living forever, never dying. Aspire, to hope or have a strong desire to do something. And then relating to the phrases, dread, describing great fear. I dread something happening. Fearful, causing fear, making people feel afraid. Think about how you could use fearful in your writing. What would you need to put with it to create that feeling of fear? Terror, the feeling of extreme fear. I think if a tiger walked up, I'm sitting in my office at the moment, if the tiger walked up to my double doors, I would be terrified. I would be full of terror. So think about what makes you feel fearful or terrified. How could you express that in your writing? Now, here's a picture of a lovely pussycat. Is it a pussycat or is it a tiger? Tigers are such beautiful creatures, aren't they? But tigers are also meat eaters, so we have to have a healthy regard for them. But how does this picture of a tiger compare to the poem? Now, we could probably spend about 3 weeks unpicking this poem, but what I would like you to do now is think about how could you act out some of the words? How could you act out being the tiger? How does a tiger move? How does it prowl through the forest? Could you prowl through your house or your flat or your garden? How does a tiger show its strength? How would you express that? How does a tiger stare up to the sky or return to their lair, feeling full of pride and power? Can you act that out? Pretend that you are the tiger prowling round a forest, moving through looking for prey. And I'm afraid tigers will eat almost anything, including us, given the chance. Okay, so you're prowling through the forest, you're looking for prey. How would a tiger look for prey? Will it scan the forest? And your forest could be your bedroom. It could be the living room. It could be the garden if you're lucky enough to have one. Or it could be, if you were out in the park and felt like a bit of acting, you could prowl round the park and you could scan through the trees. I'm not suggesting if you're out in the garden or if you're in the park you practice roaring, but you might like to. How does a tiger roar? Why does a tiger roar? And how does that tiger return home, having probably killed and eaten its prey? So play with the thought of being a tiger. Pause the video here and try it, just as you would if we were in school. I'd like you, before we do this section, to go right back to the beginning of the poem. And I'd like you to find all the words and phrases that link to fire or light. I wonder how many you can find. Burning bright, burnt the fire of thine eyes, seized the fire, furnace, stars. Have a think, jot down your ideas. When you've done that, I want you to have a look at how you could change the poem. And I want you to see if you can find synonyms for all the words that are missing. Now, this is quite a big ask, I know that, but I think you would be very well placed to do it. We've done a lot of work over the last 6 weeks about playing with words and how you can use words in different contexts. So, when you look at this, tiger, tiger, how would you put a word instead of burning bright? What could you use? I'd like you to have a go. When you've had a go, take a photograph of it or type it up and turn it in on Google Classroom so I can see. I hope you enjoy the challenge of this, and it is a challenge, but I think it'd be really good if you can have a go at it. If you feel you can't do all of it, just do the first 3 verses and just where the gaps are. Enjoy it. I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.